Shalom. So today we're going to talk about eugenics. Now, of this tree of eugenics, there are many branches, right? So we're just going to deal with one branch for today, which is monogamy. What about monogamy? How they weaponized it against us as a people, right? Now, in order for them to establish this, there were certain things that they had to do. There were certain process that they had to go through for us to compromise, right? So the first one we're going to look at is a change of identity, next religion, next monogamy itself, medicines, and politics, right? So let us explore these different aspects of how they weaponize monogamy against us as a people. Now, let's go to Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1. It says, "And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth." Right? Let us look at something else before we go further on this. This is where the Most High speak with Abraham. He said, this is Genesis chapter 22 and 17. It says, "That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies." No, we see this blessing from the beginning, from Adam to Noah, all the way down to Abraham, all the way down to the 12 tribes, right? So, if this has been our culture, right, what tactics would the enemies have to come up with to use it, to weaponize it against us? Let's look at the world today. Let's say there are 8 billion people today, right? Would we have had the same amount if it was all monogamous that the Most High created for us? Right? So one of the things is that we have to stick to our law, our culture, and our language, our identity, so we can stand up for what we need to stand up for, and we can be against what we need to be against, right? And this is why we're going over to a change of identity, right? To see how they weaponize monogamy against us. Let us go to the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 49. Let's start at verse 41. It says, "Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people." What happens here? It's a political movement. So in order for all of us to be one people, it means we have to forget who we are as a people. We have to forget the laws of our God as a people. We have to forget our culture as a people to be joined unto the heathen. And notice, it says King Antiochus, these were the Grecians, right? The Grecians. It says, "And everyone should leave his laws." Everyone should leave their identity. So the law that you're identified with, that you should multiply, replenish the earth, now you're going to have to leave that. Right? Why do I say it's a political movement? Because these people, up until today, they cannot produce the amount of descendants as numerous as the stars or the sands of the seashore. So what did they have to do? They have to come with subtlety. Right? So even if in their culture they should have more than one wife, 10, 20 wives, guess what? They still could not produce this amount of children. So they had to bring us down to their level to see numbers equal. Right? So this is why they push all these things upon us. This monogamy lifestyle, this homosexual lifestyle, the lesbian, the queers, sterilization, C-section upon our women, and this, what do you call it? Lab foods to destroy our organs, to destroy everything about us. They give us all these vaccines and immunizations and medicines, which we're going to go into further on in this. Right? So all of these things were different tactics to accomplish the one goal. Planned Parenthood. All these methods of birth control is to what end? Because let's look at this. What nation do they recognize as the largest nation? The Chinese, right? Okay, when they want to do all these experimental birth control methods, what nation do they go into? Do they go to the Chinese nation and do it? And push it? And force it? Do they go to the different religious leaders in the Chinese culture and force these things? No, they don't. They go to the black people and the Africans. Why is that? But if we're not the largest nation, why do they come to us? Why don't they go to the largest one? The Chinese. It's all politics. That's what it is. Also, why is it that if you're controlling population, right? If you're controlling all these births and so forth, why, when you are over to these people, you're giving them all types of birth controls? But when you come over to these people, you are trying different methods for them to produce children. That doesn't add up. If you're controlling birth over here, why are you trying to develop methods of how people can get pregnant? That's quite obvious. So you're not controlling population. You're controlling the population of a specific nation of people. That is what it is. And in order for you to accomplish this goal, you had to put certain things in place. Change of identity. So, if I'm an Israelite of whom the blessing of Abraham falls upon, to say I can have descendants as numerous as the sand of the seas, guess what? When I believe that my identity has changed and I no longer identify with a son of Abraham, guess what? Now I can call myself whatever I want to call myself. And I can, as it says, and everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed. So guess what? Now I can agree that I am not a son of Abraham. I will not produce all these descendants. So I give into your policies, your political policies. To what end? Verse 49 says, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinance. To the end that I might forget that I was a son of Abraham, that I still am a son of Abraham. So now I can call myself Christian, I can call myself whatever I want to call myself. What I need to do is just accept your one husband, one wife philosophy or policy and live under that. No matter what you do, no matter what they do, they will never see numbers equal. The blessings do not change. It remains the same. So the change of identity is one aspect, is what they tell us who we are as a nation. So if I say I'm a Jamaican, guess what? In my head, I'm identifying myself as Jamaica, the nation. But is Jamaica really a nation? No. There's a difference between a nation of people and the land that a people reside in. Chinese, you may say you are Jamaican because you were born in Jamaica. Okay, what makes this island Jamaica? Because usually, or by right, a land is named after a people. The people is not named after the land. So who is this man, or who is this progenitor you call Jamaica? Is it the progenitor of both the Chinese and the black people here? What about the East Indians that are born here in this island? We all have the same progenitor? No, all of this is politics. They are Jamaicans by citizenship. We are Jamaicans by citizenship. The Chinese, the East Indians, the Europeans, the Africans, the Israelites, we are not the same nation. But we can be the same citizenship, we can be the same citizen of a land or a place. So politically, they change our identity. So once we start to identify as them, we are under their democratic political policies. So guess what? We are all one people. Out of many, we are one people. And according to their policies, it's one man, one wife. So in order for you to get certain things from them, guess what? You can only have one wife. So if you have a wife here, she can get certain things. But if you have another wife over here, she's not entitled to the same thing that this wife is entitled to. So because of this system, another woman suffers, not according to what the man is able to give or not to give, but according to the sanctions they place upon this man. All of this is a sanction upon the black man and upon the Hebrew man. And in order for us to lift these sanctions off our heads, we have to do what? Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 4. No, sorry, 18 and verse 4. It says, "And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." We have to come out of their political policies. This democracy is the image of the beast. We have to get out of it so we can return to our laws, return to our God-given identity. As long as we are subject to them, to their political policies, they rule over us. They rule over what we do. They will dictate everything for us. They will sanction whatever they want to sanction. And our people suffer at the consequences. Now let's look at religion. When we hear the term religion, what we usually do is we think Christianity right away. But the truth is, this Hebrew thing has become a religion. That is what it has become. It's not really about separation. Some of us only call ourselves Hebrew because we might be awakened to certain aspect of consciousness. Just at the mental level, not in terms of our actions. So we hear little things here and there, and we say we are awake. It is not the words that come out of your mouth that determines whether you are awake or not. It is the actions that you take that will determine your consciousness to reality. Now, what they do is go to these religious leaders, just as we read in First Maccabees. Let's go back there. Just as we read in First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 40. 43, it says, "Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion." This is not talking about the peasants. This is talking about the wicked rulers in Israel, the men that had power. Just as when these people are coming to make their policies, they don't need to go to the peasants. They go to the puppets that they put in positions. And with all the gifts that they get, they compromise the morals. So this is exactly what they do. They go to these religious institutions and push this ideology. So guess what? You're, say, in a Christian church, this is what the pastor will believe in. So let's say a man has his wife and he has sex with another woman that is single and free. You know how that person or how that church interprets it? As adultery and fornication. Really? Let us go to the book of Exodus, chapter 22 and verse 16, and see what the Bible says about that. It says, "And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her," meaning have sex, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So hold on. If this was adultery, what is the judgment for adultery? So in a case where, guess what, this man can take care of this woman as a second wife and maintain her and do all the whatever he needs to do as a husband to play all that role, it is legal according to our laws. But that's what happens when our religious leaders have compromised, because that's not adultery. A lot of these religious leaders cannot bring this wisdom to their wives, and because of that, they impose that on their entire congregation. Because the wisdom is telling you that if you go about a woman in a wrong way, what you have to do as a man is to pursue by continuing the duties of a marriage. There is no judgment for it because there is no sin in it. But because a lot of you cannot keep your woman's feelings intact, you try to make these things sin that are no sin. And guess what? This works for their eugenics agenda to come to the religious institutions. And like I said, the Hebrew thing now has become a religion. So even our women now will stand against us in defending this very monogamy that is never part of our laws, is not part of who we are as a people. It's never part of who we have been as a people. Can you choose to do it? Yes, you can choose to do it. You're free of judgment. Can you choose to have a second wife? Yes, and you're also free of judgment. There is no sin. Once you're treating them according to the sacred text, there's no sin. A lot of our women have allied themselves with the enemies. And this is where the problem is, because where we should have them to support us, they are alliance with the enemies and they stand against us. Our women are the closest to us. And this is why it's always the same tactic in overthrowing men. Because when you think your woman is in your image and in your likeness, guess what? She's in the image and likeness of the beast. A lot of time we talk about betrayals, we like to use Delilah because she's of another nation and because of men's desire to be with other nation. But let's really look into our nation. How many great black men have been taken down for this reason? It's nothing new under the sun. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? In the first place, why is he speaking to her? Why is he speaking to her absent the permission of the husband? Why is she in a direct dialogue with the beast, and in a position to even make a decision? You see, this direct dialogue with the beast is not so bad, but be in position to make a decision absent the permission of the husband is even worse. Let's go back to when we came out of slavery. Since here is too far for our brains to go back. Back in chattel slavery, everybody was equal. The woman, the black woman, the black man, all in slavery together, right? Now, coming into the industrial revolution time period, when you start to have factories and so forth, men were given jobs that, like more physical and the outside and so forth. Women were more inside the office. So guess what? If a man is out there working in the field and he needs something, if he needs anything, he had to go to the black woman at the office area. And that is a form of putting somebody under somebody. And that is the seed that was planted in the heads of our women. The fact that every time the man comes to the desk, he has to ask, he has to go through her like a superior to get to anything or anyone that he needs to get to. And it's the same today when you look in these jobs, right? You'll have like the maintenance guy, the guy that does the landscaping, but the women are in the receptionist area. So anytime they want to speak with the boss, they have to go to her, hey, can you call this extent, can you call this number, can you contact, it's the same thing. And these people are so moved by titles and positions rather than valuing their time. So these very landscape guys, maintenance guys and so forth that they think they are above, guess what? They are getting more paid than them in the office. But they don't value that. They value the title, or they have to all come to me, good morning, Mrs. This, good morning, Mrs. That. And that gives a feel of power. There's nothing new under the sun. And because of that, our women have taken counsel and now in agreement with the very people who are against us as men. For this, I have to shout out to all our Hebrew women who, even if you are having a monogamous relationship or you are into this monogamous thing, but you are not against righteous polygyny. We salute you. It warms our heart, it lifts our spirit to know that you stand with us and not falling for the devil's tactics. Right? They took away access to wealth as black men, as Hebrew men. And then they use their media to push all these theories that, oh, a man can't afford such and such wife then, and he wants this and that. Yeah, but if you didn't take away our access to wealth, guess what? What would have happened? So don't blame it on wealth. Blame it on the fact that you placed a sanction on our heads, took away all the access. But then they had all the black men dying poor. But when it looked too bad, they made a little adjustment to create an illusion. So they start pick out a few men who can be successful. So you have like 10 successful men, then you have millions of unsuccessful men, to create the illusion that, okay, if these 10 people did it, then why can't you? And people fall for that illusion. It's the same thing that they took down into the education systems today. Yes, these people got their PhD, they got their whatever, and they got good jobs. Oh, really? And that's not rigged, right? You did not do anything to that. You see, your illusions cannot hide. That was for a time past. Our eyes have opened. He said he would have poured out his spirit in these last days. And it's obvious. No one believes their lies anymore. Right? So let's go to the monogamy itself. As it relates to multiplying and replenish the earth, when you look at David's situation with Bathsheba, when Bathsheba conceived, right, for David, where was her husband? He was still alive. What was the judgment for that situation? What happened to the child that was conceived in adultery? The Most High killed that son, right? No. What happens after the husband Uriah died? Didn't the Most High bless David with a son from the same woman? Because what? She was free from her husband. So when you take Jacob, if this polygyny was so wrong, the Most High did not have the power to do the same to the handmaids of the daughters of Laban? It's because it was not a sin. So we have to learn to sever what is personal from what is actual law. And that is why it's so easy for a lot of people to ally themselves with the enemies, even though they know that it's not a transgression. You can say you are not in agreement, or you don't feel comfortable being in that situation, but to say it is morally wrong, that is where the problem is. It proves where your allegiance is. It is with this society and not with the laws of the sacred text. Let's look at medicines. A lot of these medicines, drugs or whatever that they are given, how good is it for us as a people? The vaccines, the immunizations, and so forth. Think about it. Why would you need to be immunized if you're indigenous to the area that you're born in? For example, if a Jamaican man and a Jamaican woman come together and have a child, why would that child need to be vaccinated, immunized, if he or she would be indigenous to the area? That doesn't make sense. You don't need to put bacteria inside of your blood to fight the bacteria. All you have to do is keep strengthening your immune. And how do you do that? You eat real foods. So if they really want to protect you, guess what? They would stop pushing those lab foods, those GMOs and so forth in our communities. All the foods that they put on the markets are the foods that they tamper with. Now we understand why Moses had to be 40 years in the wilderness. Because that's where you will find foods not tampered with. Everything that is on the market is gone, is corrupt, is defiled. So even if you're growing your own foods, guess what? It is the same. They have no electricity in them. As you eat, you want to sleep. We are not as the other people. We are carbonated people full of life, full of electricity. Charged by the sun. We eat to feed our organs. And in our diet, what we do is strengthen our immune system. So how do we get immunized? We don't go to their clinics to get immunized. You do what? You get your connection with your environment. Earth, air, water, fire. So guess what? Take a child that is born poor and take a child that is born rich. And you will see the difference. The child that is born poor, guess what? He's all over in the dirt. Take a certain rich child. As you put them in the dirt, they get sick because you prevented that for so long. So they're not accustomed to that. Take a child that is born poor, they can go play in all types of grasses, bushes. Take a child that is born rich who has never been in that. The itch, cannot sleep, all types of rashes and so forth. Take a child that is born poor, they travel all over the place running up and down. They breathe whatever air that there is. Inhale in the mountains, the earth, whatever. Take a child that is in the city, they don't know anything natural. All they're accustomed to is chemicals and all of these things. We are people of the earth, we are people of the soil. And the more connected we are to it, is the more strength our immune has. We don't need injections to build our immune. We don't need injections to fight against diseases. We strengthen our immune by the way we eat. This is why a lot of diseases were never cured. Diseases that are curable. Because instead of them strengthening the immune, what they're doing is they're treating the symptoms. The symptom is not the disease. So if you have sugar, guess what? You can try fight the sugar all you want. That's just a symptom. But until you strengthen your immune to fight against the diabetes itself, everything will be wasted. In 2016, they wanted to push the HPV shots in the high schools, giving the teenage girls and so the teenagers these shots to protect them, prevent them from cancer. Really? I mean, you created all these diseases, pushed into our neighborhoods, and now you're coming to prevent us from the very diseases you created and pushed on us. All of these that they're doing goes back to the one agenda. The blessing that was upon Abraham. So you see, just as they went to the powers that are sitting in the churches, is the same way they went to the powers that are in the school, the educational systems. We have to understand that these people who are sitting in these seats are compromised. They are no different from the people that paid them. Just as you cannot trust the people that pay them, you cannot trust the people that receive the payments. They are one and the same. It's the same within the medical facilities, the hospitals, and so forth, giving birth. Why, every time a woman goes to have a baby, they're pushing this C-section agenda? Yeah, because nurses get their incentive from pushing it. After two or three births, guess what? You cannot produce. You cannot have any more children because you done messed up your stomach. They'll tell you all types of excuses about the baby wasn't set like this or that. So back then, before you had what's the thing called ultrasound, where you can see how the baby is positioned or whatever, what would happen to those birds? Because once you put your hand, you will feel whether it's the head or the foot, so you know what to do. You don't need to see the baby to know that the baby is not in the right position. This is all their theories. But our people fell for it. A lot of them have compromised. It all goes back to the one thing. The blessing of Abraham. Politics. Like I said, if China is the biggest nation, then why do they push all these things in our communities? That's very questionable. If they believe the earth is overpopulated, they should start by destroying their buildings. Get rid of those spaces, a lot more people can be there. And all praises that is already at hand. Shalom.